Hello everyone, and welcome to a deck review. So, overall, I'd like to first point out that this is a Quest Paladin deck, so we'll be using the Rise to the Occasion. So, play 3 different 1-cost cards, and you equip Light's Justice, followed by an upgrade to your hero power, and then you eventually get the 5-cost that makes all of your Silverhand recruits 3/3s. Now, this is a pretty interesting deck because you can really dump a lot of dust into this, but I'll point out right now I'm very dust poor because I haven't played for about 3 years, so I was looking for a deck that I could kind of just maybe sell a legendary that I had lying around, which most of them are now part of the core set, so I didn't have that many to actually disenchant. Overall, the deck doesn't cost too much, and a lot of the cards that do cost a lot, so like Varian down here, the rest are very much just common cards, maybe the occasional rare, or I mean Ibis is just extra, but it's really a cheap deck to make. And there's a whole bunch of ways that you can kind of make this into whatever you want. To start, let's just point out that we're trying to keep as many 1-costs as possible, and if you look at the curve, this deck has 23 1-cost cards, and only 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s, and a 7+. And you need a total of 9 1-cost cards, not including the one to play Rise to the Occasion. You can basically get this deck to summon Cariel by turn 5. Outside of that, we've got some animated broomsticks for rush. You'll, in many cases, have points in the game where you'll want to summon your Silverhand recruits and then attack with them immediately, so we have 2 broomsticks for that. And the rest is very much just things to cycle through your deck or provide some sort of extra bonus to the cards that you have. So we've got First Day at School. Each one of these drawn is basically a free level up on your quest. Blessed Goods is 2 out of 3. You've got Ibis for extra support. You don't need Ibis. You can definitely sack him out for a peasant or anything really 1-cost. And then we've got a couple secrets as well. So we've got Galloping Savior. The Knights of Anointment aren't secrets, but they can draw your secrets for you. They basically count as 2 cards because they'll draw a Holy Spell, which is usually a 1-cost. Outside of that, we've got a couple more cards. So we've got Righteous Protector, kind of keep your health points up. We've got 2 of that. Pen Flinger, we've got the Coin. This is a really busted card because you can play it for 1 on turn 2, and then coin, get your mana back, play it again, and then play a 1-cost spell, get him back, and then you can play him again. And at that point, you have your weapons, so you can actually do 4 damage to something if you have the coin. And then we've got a couple extra things. We've got a Day at the Fair, just in case we can corrupt it. Now, the other thing in here is Varian. I will point out that you do not need to be running Varian, and I'll give a couple suggestions. If you don't have Varian, then you can use Tyrion. I used to use Tyrion before I got Varian. Or you can use basically any legendary that is beefy, something that gives you a board presence and keeps you kind of safe. Some options, you could throw Talon in there to draw your highest cost minion. I used to run him and Tyrion, but both of them at the same time wasn't very great. You can even run Lady Prestor, you can run High Inquisitor Whitemane, especially if you just had a whole bunch of Silverhands that died for a trade, you can bring them back. You can run Korak, because honorable kills on a 5-cost is, it's a little bit tough. You'll basically get your mana's worth out of it. You could run Lokolar, you could run Ysera, anything that kind of gives you that extra little bit of burst, because this deck does really fall off at the late game. So at this point, I think I should explain how you play this, and I'll put a couple clips on the screen just so that you can see how it plays out in most cases. This deck has very few non-1-cost cards, so you should always assume that you're drawing at least 1-cost cards on your turns. Sometimes you whiff, but more or less you'll be fine. The rest of the deck aims to synergize with those 1-cost cards, so if you do collect something like, let's say, an Equality or Consecrate, remember that those will have an effect later. Now when you're first starting, you should probably ship anything that isn't a high-quality 1-cost, so things like Knights of Anointment, First Day at School, Safety Inspector, anything that gives you more card draw and lets you cycle through your deck faster, those are super strong in this deck. Penflinger is great versus some matchups. Overall, you should be looking for the high-quality 1-cost cards, because you do want to get to Cariel very quickly. The deck does run out of steam around 9 mana, so aim to kill your opponent before then. I usually try and get Cariel out on turn 6 or 7. If you get it out on turn 8 or 9, you really reduce your chances of winning because you'll start running out of steam. So you'll have a bunch of 1/1s on the field, and they'll be ramping up to 5/5s and 6/6s. Versus Mage, you shouldn't keep any minions with 1 health unless you can use them for buffing or they're one of those high cost, high power minions. So the Knight of Anointment, even though it's a 1/1, does get you more cards. So it could get you a Hand of Adal, which would power up another minion. It can give you Avenge, it can give you Noble Sacrifice, it can give you Blessed Goods. All these things are super good, so it's worth keeping. Versus Mage, you should also try and complete the quest as fast as possible. If you're going against another quest mage, they're going to be doing the same thing, and if they beat you to the finish, you lose. So it's always good to cycle fast, play fast. Even if it's not very effective in terms of board presence, it's better to finish the quest early. Warlock is a terrible matchup. I will say that right now. I have not found a way to really synergize this deck against Warlock. They just have too much lifesteal, too many board clears. It's very tough to beat that deck. The pros of this deck, it's very cheap. And I'll pull up the deck here again. So, as I said, most of these are common cards, and I'll quickly run through them. So we've got Ibis, you can flip that out for any one cost, so let's just run over to the one costs. And I'll give some examples of what I used to run. I used to run Arcane Anomalies. When I didn't have as much dust, I used to run Emerald Sky Talons. I used to run Iron Deep Trogs, super good if you can get them buffed. I played Stockade's Guard as well, but it's not as good. But if you're low on dust, these are all common cards, so you can use them. Outside of that, it's just Knights. It's common. That's a quest, so that's not common. Safety Inspector, you can probably switch out for anything. And everything else is one cost, I believe. Equality Consecrate are part of the core set now, I think. Dun Baldar, I believe you have to finish a certain amount of ranked wins to get. If you don't have this one yet, then just swap it out for another one cost. Or what I used to do is Blessing of Kings. It doesn't do as much as, the Dun Baldar, but it does give a 4/4, which is pretty good. It's basically Dun Baldar's effect on 2 cards. So it can be a swing card. If you put it on a minion that, maybe they put it down to 7/7, you've got a 3/3 from your Silverhand Recruits plus Cariel. Then you've got a 7/7, you break their line, and then you're good to go. And I already mentioned Varian, you can swap it out for Tyrion, you can swap it out for any legendary, anything that gives you that late game push. Now let's quickly run through a game, very, very quickly. Just a quick 5-minute run, and I'll see if I can show off some of the better decisions you can make. Alright, so it's against a rogue. This could be interesting. I don't think we want to keep too many of these things. Noble Sack kind of just gets killed by the hero power, so it's probably a ship on all of them. Again, we want to hit those big power minions. So things like Ibis is not one of them, but Peasant's good, kind of, sort of. Knight of Anointment's that good. If we can power this up or play it and then fake them out, I don't know. I think it's probably best to kind of just try and push. Get an Avenge, that's pretty good. Ibis is kind of a dead weight until turn 8, but we can use it as one of those one costs that we need. Pretty bland turn, okay. First day at school, that's pretty good. But I think we'll stick with the cheeky Peasant into Avenge play. It also gets us our weapon, so we can send one attack face and finish the turn. And drawing first day at school means that next turn we can finish the next part of the quest. If we want to. We don't have to, but I think it might be good. We'll see what we draw and then go from there. Nice. Don't know if they intended for that, but attacks a random enemy. No. Okay. Oh, we've got 2 first days at school. Alright. So that means we can finish the quest. If your friendly character heals, we don't have that, but we can get a free broomstick. That means this guy can trade in. Or this one. Now this is probably a best case scenario, to be honest. We've got something that draws us additional cards. It's pretty healthy. It can still die, but it's working out. It's doing its job, which is really good. Now we've got our first day at school, so on turn 5 we can play Cariel. Now the bonus is that Cariel also procs the day at the fair. So we can play Cariel, we can then next turn play Day at the Fair and get 5 3/3s onto the board. Well, that's even better. Let's not do that. I think that's a little bit greedy. But there we go. That's our Cariel. We can just attack for 5. It's basically over at this point, I hope. Might even play the Metamorphin, just for that extra little bit of taunt. This is what I mean. If you start the ball rolling on this and get some peasants down, you power up the peasant so it doesn't die in one hit, it becomes pretty powerful. You just keep rolling and rolling and rolling, and as long as you keep drawing cards, you are pretty much set. I think we might have gotten them to rage quit. This feels like a rage quit. Sorry, Pretzel Eater. I don't think you expected this kind of board, did ya? Oh, if only they could see my hand, and then they'd know that they're really screwed. Yeah, looks like they quit. Just waiting for the "your opponent has left" at this point. But we'll play a carry-all. We'll follow through. Pops their Day at the Fair, and we can get one more damage in. And then they've got the short timer. And what turn is this? This is turn 5. So, yeah, turn 5 win. Now, if they were still playing, I bet you they'd clear this board, so we'd have less damage on them. Maybe we get 5 damage in, maybe we get 2 damage. But even then, next turn, we play Day at the Fair. If we get Dun Baldar, we don't. If we did get it, though, it gets kind of busted from there. We've got Ibis in case he plays anything crazy. I mean, we might as well play Ibis. See what we would have gotten. Probably all of it, plus 4? Yeah. We missed the rush. No, we got rush. And there it goes. Anyway, that's basically the deck. It's, not super complicated. Has a lot of ways to win, and that's kind of its bread and butter. If you start to lose on board, you can force them back with the Consecrate. If you're winning on board, then you can start playing extra spells. If you get a peasant out for, like, any more than a turn, you kind of just roll. We didn't even see the Penflinger action. And we didn't get Dun Baldar. We didn't get anything super crazy. We had Day at the Fair ready for a board of 3/3s. But it really does just snowball. So try it out. Like I said, there's way more iterations to this than you can expect. The other decks that I ran, we had way more common cards to start because I didn't have as much dust and I didn't have as many cards. Again, I just started like after a 2-year hiatus, so all of my good cards are basically now unenchantable. This is version 1.8 and it works out really well. If you don't have Ibis, if you don't have Varian, throw in some other ones that just give you a little bit more push, and past that it's all commons. Now I'll keep playing with this. So far it's running a 60% win rate, but I think it'll go up now that I have the final deck list kind of built out. If you've got any suggestions, hopefully cheap ones, throw them in the comments. I'm not running Oh My Yogg in this for a good reason, by the way. It's because, I mean, we can just get it out of Blessed Goods if we really want it, but it's also an epic, and I don't have 400 dust. And I don't want to make a deck that people need 800 dust to run. Like 2 Oh My Yoggs is a little bit much. So, super cheap deck, anybody can run it, plays really well, really quick, has a couple bad matchups, but overall, really clean. Outside of that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.